Have you ever been looking for something online and found something totally inappropriate that you are not looking for? Yeah, me too. Chances are, though, if you and I have done that, so has one of our children. It's very important that we limit the screen time for adolescents. Today, I would like to talk to you about how not limiting screen time for our teens and our youth, they can end up with risky behavior, poor health, and poor communication skills. So let's start off with talking about how not limiting them can lead to risky behavior. So the American Academy of Pediatricians say that about 12% of children between the age of 10 and 19 have sent or received a sexually explicit photo. That number to me is a little scary. As a parent, 12% doesn't seem high, but I have 4 kids. So what are the odds that my child may not be one of those 12%? So the best way for me to protect them would also know what they're doing online, but also limit their screen time and their online access. The second part of risky behavior is that children are at a higher risk for cyberbullying. It happens all the time. And what better way to prevent that and give them the chance to be bullied than to limit them on their screen time? You can also be protecting your child from online predators. We read about that and hear about that on the news all the time. And I know as a parent that's maybe not something I spend a lot of time worrying about because I feel like I'm on top of that. But the best way to really prevent that is to limit their screen time. So we've talked about limiting the screen time so that we don't have risky behavior, but there's also things about their overall health. So we don't want our child to have poor health. And one of the things that causes poor health is obesity. And according to the CDC, nearly 1 in 5 school-age children are obese. The best way to prevent obesity, actually, is not as much as diet as it is exercise. So if they're not on their screen, they may be outside, just like I am right now, getting exercise, potentially playing with friends. That would be a way to prevent that. The American Academy of Pediatricians also points out the connection between screen time and poor sleep. Sleep is very important for the overall health of a child and their growth. It is also hugely important not only for their health, but actually for their school performance. So we want to keep that in mind. There is also a link, according to Psychology Today, between screen time and depression. The rate of teen suicide is at its highest that it's ever been, and Psychology Today talks about how the screen time is leading to depression, which in turn can potentially lead to suicide. So we don't want for our children to be unhealthy, to have poor sleep, or to be depressed. And the best way to do that is to limit some screen time. So we've addressed the risky behavior and the poor health. Now let's talk about how not limiting the screen time for your adolescents could lead to poor communication skills. Author Paul Joassier writes and talks about how poor communication skills leads to poor relationships, which makes total sense. You cannot have a relationship with someone and build a friendship if you're not communicating with them. And yes, you can communicate text. Your teen can do that all day long, but it's not the same as face-to-face real interaction. In the words of a high-tech recruiter for a major corporation, communication is key. You can have all the financial tools and skills, but if you can't communicate that point, then it doesn't matter. It's all mute. So I know for me, one of my goals for my children is that not only that they do well in school, but I really do want them to choose a career that they're good at and they are passionate about. And it doesn't matter if I prepared them for this job their whole life and they've worked really hard for it. If they can't communicate to that potential employer the skills they have, then they've worked for nothing. So one of the ways to ensure good communication skills, verbal communication skills, face-to-face communication skills, is to practice them. Children aren't born with the ability to talk. They have to be taught. They're not born with the ability to know what's good manners. They have to be taught. And that is true with everything. It's our job to teach our children everything. And one of those things are good communication skills so that they can do well in life. So to wrap up, there are 3 good reasons to limit screen time. 1 is risky behavior, 2 is poor health, and 3 is poor communication skills. We should really limit our adolescents' time on the screen and online access so that we can protect them. We want to protect them because, to be honest, the children really are our future.